Hey, Warrior Saints. Father Chris here. Welcome to our crucifixional live stream. We are joined today by Deacon Greg. Welcome. Good morning. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Great. So as you guys are watching this right now, at the time that we're filming this, there is a seemingly beginning of a third world war. The nation state of Israel is dropping bombs on Iran. Some people, and I think the United States has some kind of involvement. I don't follow it too much, but it's happening, and people are talking about World War III coming, and maybe, God forbid, loss of life and all that kind of stuff. Other people are very, very excited about it because the corrupt nature of the Iranian regime, they say, and Ayatollah Khamenei, right? Not Khomeini. I mean, there's different. That was the previous one. Has done terrorist things and killed people and been horrible and all that kind of stuff. So there's a divide out there. There's a fight going on. And, this is nothing new. We're going to kind of talk about this a little bit today. And it is something you and I are working on, coming up with Fight Club.
Fight Club.
Yeah.
We can't talk about it, though.
No, sorry.
That's the first rule.
I know. I'm not supposed to say that.
I know.
Anyways, fighting is it's big business, right?
Huge
It's big business. I remember, a few years ago, I don't know, 6 or 7 years ago, there was, in President Trump's first term, he made a diplomatic visit to Japan. And at the time, the prime minister of Japan was named Shinzo Abe, although I think he was assassinated, which kind of goes with, he was killed after anyways, I think. So Trump went to see Abe, and they in the diplomatic visit, they took him to this famous koi pond. So I guess in the compound of their headquarters, there's a famous koi pond, and they had these little wooden baskets filled with fish food and wooden spoons, and Prime Minister Abe threw a spoonful in to the pond, and President Trump followed, and then Abe, and then Trump followed. It went back and forth. And then all of a sudden, the news outlet I was watching, the whatever media I was watching, President Trump just dumped the whole thing in. And the internet, the whole bucket, the internet did what it always does. It exploded with rage and chaos and screaming and yelling, and everyone was like, how could he? And
he hates fish.
Yeah, I mean, they said, don't you know you're going to kill the fish with all that food? And, disrespectful and, all that kind of stuff. And you know me, right, Deacon Greg? I'm apolitical. But I do try hard not to ever speak ill of any sitting U.S. president. I mean, there are leaders, whether we like them or not, whether they always make good decisions or not. They are ours. And so I do my best, if I can help it, not to speak ill. But I got to tell you, man, I was disappointed.
Yeah.
I was like, why would he do that? I mean, that's just disrespectful, right? Until the next day, when another news media outlet showed the same footage, the same event, but their footage panned back, and they didn't cut it. They didn't clip it.
Yeah.
And it showed that President Trump threw the whole bucket in only after Prime Minister Abe did.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like that the first group had basically lied. They didn't basically. They lied. They clipped the footage, and they had to eat crow, which was kind of funny because I always love seeing that kind of stuff. Anyways, all of that intro leads to not. I don't care. I don't care about the silliness of politics and the politicians. That whole dog and pony show doesn't interest me anymore. But it was the reaction of the internet, meaning us people, everyone angry and fighting. And one guy loved it, and one guy hated it, and da-da-da-da. And then when it was exposed, the lie, this guy who hated it then loved it, and, back and forth. And everybody's just fighting all the time. Conflict. And people don't know how to deal with conflict resolution.
Correct.
So, anyways, let's address it a little bit and talk about it.
Yes.
All right. Well,
I think people fight because it feels good to fight. I think it feels good to get enraged. I think it feels good to read something and be fired up or incensed and wanting to go after whoever you've decided you need to go after because you are now enraged and incensed, and it feels good for whatever reason. I think it's weird that it feels good, but it certainly, on some level, there's like chemicals in our body that are released, but you know more about that stuff than I do.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I like the way you said that. It feels good. We've discovered, not me, but science and neuroscience has discovered that just like we talked a few episodes ago about and the dopamine that's dumped in the brain. Same kind of thing happens with the anger. There is this pattern, so dopamine is a neurochemical that the brain dumps at certain times. It's often associated with pleasure. Usually it's, people refer to it as being connected to sex, that it happens after, you climax in the intimacy. But actually now we've discovered that dopamine dumps before. So, the other part of that is that it's not just about it. Dopamine is a pleasure chemical, but its pleasure is given to you to make you do that action and behavior again. So in other words, it reinforces behavior ultimately for the propagation of the human race. Like, in other words, keep going so you can keep living and so on. And so, why then would you say, would it want to continue? Why would dopamine, be released into the brain in anger and fighting situations? Really, if you go back to our ancestors, probably because we needed to fight off and fend off, monsters that were coming to get us. Literally like in, the ancient days, animals and snakes and woolly mammoth and, other tribes and all that kind of stuff that they had to, protect themselves from. And so the anger with the dopamine, reinforce it. But now I think it's gone haywire.
Oh yeah. Because we crave it. And we look at all this stuff that's trying to get us to click. We call it clickbait because it baits us into clicking so that it will release those dopamine things and get us to click more and want to keep reading more and keep us. And it's just keeping us all angry all the time. It's just keeping us enraged. And we never get to a point of having that conflict resolution because we never see the need for it, because we just stay at the level of anger.
Yeah.
We read a headline. The headline makes us feel all the feels. We don't read the article necessarily. Or if we do, we read it through the lens of what we've already decided it's telling us that fits with our ideas to begin with. And then it just becomes this cycle that keeps releasing and repeating and going on and on and on. And it's maddening.
Yeah. Creates a war, man. There's a war within.
There's a war within.
We keep talking about the war within. And the war, I said it in a homily last week or week before, whenever it was. There is a war that no one escapes. It's not a conventional war, chemical war, psychological warfare. It's a spiritual warfare in the hearts and mind in every person. And that war is the difference between who I am and who I ought to be.
Yeah.
What I want to do and what I ought to do. And St. Paul talks a lot about that in Romans. In James, interestingly enough, in the epistle, James's epistle, he talks about this war as well, right? I think we have that in chapter 4. What is it? Do you have it there? Read it for me, Deacon Greg.
It says, "What causes quarrels and what causes fights among you? Is it not this, that your passions are at war within you? You desire and do not have, so you murder. You covet and cannot obtain, so you fight and quarrel. You do not have because you do not ask." It reminds me of my kids who might see the same toy sitting on the table and nobody wants to play with that toy until one of them wants to play with that toy. Then all of a sudden they're both fighting over that toy because now someone has it, now someone else wants it. And they now start making claims, that's mine, you didn't ask me, you didn't do that. And they start going to battle over it because they're kids and that's what kids do. The problem with what we've been talking about is we're adults.
Yeah.
We need to stop doing what kids do. We need to stop just going down these rabbit holes and letting ourselves get sucked in to this fighting and this battle and this arguing and all of this. Because it's everywhere. It is everywhere. I can't stand looking at things like Facebook or I don't have Instagram, but I can't stand looking at it.
Yeah.
Or even just now looking at the news. You open ESPN, it's trying to get you, baited into some type of battle through the way that they write their headlines. And they write it in a way that is, as you said, deceptive, manipulative.
Yeah.
And it's entirely engaged in inciting our passions,
Right.
which James is talking about being at war within us to begin with.
Right. Yeah, I'll tell you the real reason why they do that, which I think you alluded to earlier, is that clickbait. Because then, it's not always, monetarily advantageous to advertisers to have peaceful headlines.
Mm-hmm.
But it's definitely advantageous to have clickbait, headlines that are like, rah, fighting. Like you said, ESPN, I even saw one, the center for the Denver Nuggets. This was a couple of weeks ago. Nikola Jokic. Somebody tripped him on the game, I forgot the player's name. Anyways, he tripped him, and so Jokic got in his face, and there was a fight, and the footage, the photo that they had was like his rage face. That's when they let the footage run and then snap the photo. And the headline was something like, I don't even remember, but Jokic, jumped into his face to get in a fight and blah blah blah.
Yeah. Did you know that there are rules at high school sporting events that you are not allowed to talk to the refs, especially after the game?
Yeah.
I have a dear friend who did not know that.
Yeah. No, I
and
heard.
His kid was involved in a game and the calls were bad. But we live in such a divisive society that you aren't even allowed to approach the refs to ask them a question. You aren't even allowed to go near them to ask them a question,
right,
because we don't know how to handle it. We don't know how to handle if we're tripped and we need to go. We don't know how to handle all of this stuff. We don't know how to handle conflict.
Right. It's an important thing, because conflict is as I said, the soup du jour. It's big business out there. We've been talking about it. And as we saw in James, he's calling that like, the war inside you.
Yeah.
And so, but difference between the man or woman I am or the man or woman I ought to be, how do we get there? I mean, it's so important that we learn how to handle conflict. I mean, we've set the stage. I mean, but what are we going to be like everyone else and all these other clowns out there and just whine about it? No, we're going to do something about it. I mean, because we've got to deal with conflict. Like you and I, thank God, when we deal with conflict fairly well. Not just we don't have conflict between us often, but we do that well. But even out in the world with other people, So we've decided, let's help.
Let's do it.
That's what Fight Club is all about. I don't. Do you have the graphic for that?
I'm going to right now.
It's so fun. So Deacon Greg, for those watching, put together this graphic. It's great. It looks kind of like the original one. We put ourselves in the positions of Edward Norton and Brad Pitt.
There it is.
I think we're far handsomer than those
I
clowns.
don't disagree with that.
All right, they're both pretty handsome. Anyways, all of that to say, coming up in our parish in a couple of weeks, and for anyone who's out there that's local or wants to travel, come join us for this. I think we'll put the info below in the gobbledygook down there. But we're going to go through it and offer some strategies how to deal with conflict in a healthy manner, what we say as warrior saints in a crucifixional manner, because conflict is being, and fighting and anger and all that kind of stuff is thrown at us everywhere we turn. And we can't live in that constant state of anger. It is not only, mentally destructive, physically destructive, it's so also spiritually destructive. It's just the mind can't keep doing all that stuff. We can't live in a constant state of anger and potential fighting, because it's just, and who wants to? Anyways, so we've come up with a couple of strategies, and we're going to really go into these strategies excuse me, at the retreat it's March 14, 2026.
Put it back up again.
Yeah, did you? Thanks.
Yeah.
Fight Club. We're going to go through it in detail, but one of this, in better detail. So that's why we want people to join us. But just kind of as a quick glance at it, we've got to recognize the chaos and decide in advance how we want to deal with it.
Yeah.
Like, it's coming in life. So it's deliberate to decide, hey, Deacon Greg, how are you going to be a conflict resolver?
Yeah. And then after you've recognized the chaos and decided that you want to overcome it and how you're going to fight it, you got to figure out how to get over yourself so that you can actually resolve that conflict, remove your biases, remove your filter, because they're playing to your biases,
right,
so that they keep you in the chaos, because the chaos keeps you controllable and the chaos keeps it all fighting all the time.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about how do we get over ourselves so that we can get out of that chaos and we can overcome all of that.
If you think about that point you said, I don't want to get too far off of, but you just made me think about it. If we are in war, like the people in Iran right now are obviously in war, and the people that Iran, I guess, is responding and retaliating. Those people, when bombs are being dropped on your head and life is literally being lost, you tend to not be forward thinking, because it's fight or flight. And at that moment, many people are looking to their governments to support them and protect them, right? Like you think about World War II, and Churchill was very powerful in the way he was, he didn't enter the war right away. He was taking care of his people. And then when, the bombs came, all of his famous speeches, never give in, never, 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 all of those things, because the people were looking to him. All right. So now imagine that we are constantly in that state of war, not physically, but here with all the stuff we're consuming in the internet. And so if they keep us in a constant state of war, we constantly look to them.
Yeah.
As opposed to looking to find a way out.
Yeah. And then once we've talked through on that day how to get out of it, we're going to give you opportunities, if you come with us, to practice it.
Yeah.
So that it's not just something we talk about, but it's something that you can actually learn and practice, putting into practice, so that you can create a new habit of how you're going to survive this stuff, how you're going to face this stuff head on, and how you can actually win that war within. Because like you said, they're going to try to keep you in it, and you got to be smarter like Churchill. How do you stay out of it, and how do you keep rolling with it?
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be fun. We're going to have some good times getting through a lot of all of this stuff.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. I love it. The habit loop you were talking about, we're going to help build a new habit, hopefully, and, interrupt the current pattern that's so darn destructive and hateful and angry. With that being said, as always, good deacon. Thank you. Pleasure. Love you. Glad to have you with us. Glad to have you people with us too. So that stuff that information is all below. So if you're a Phoenician or a Scottsdalian or anywhere in the local Valley of the Sun, join us. Info's below. Fight Club. We're going to talk about healthy fighting, because we all do it. Do we have to do it the way the world does it, or do we do it crucifixionally? And that's the goal. So you are welcome to join us. See the info below. And look, if you're not here, you're still welcome to join us. We'd love to have you fly in, come hang out with us. We'll eventually record this and put it online. It'll be on the Warrior Saints Academy site at some point. So the last part of it all is make sure you visit warriorsaints.org, and you can see it up there above my left shoulder somewhere. Deacon Greg's got it up, our website. And it's really a fascinating project we're doing. We are of the mind, and here I'll end, that to win that war within, to wage it and then ultimately win it and conquer those passions, there's only one way to do that. It is by abiding by the commandments of God. And yet sometimes people don't know what they are and can't find them, don't understand them, and so they get intimidated. So you and I built Understanding the Bible, which is on our Academy website, which helps us understand Scripture so you can then go out and live it. So it might be interesting to check it out. Love you. We'll be back with Orthodox Liturgy Sunday as usual, and we'll have some more live streams next week as always. Keep walking on the way the Warrior Saint.